Brain is the most efficient computer created by nature, and I believe nature is the best engineer ever. India can be the laboratory for the world in the 21st century. So when you invest in charity, when you invest in research, I believe that do not have an expectation of an exit or a return. Want to see India playing a bigger role globally. Feel that that's an opportunity that we have.
Thank you, Kris, for joining us today.
No, thank you for having this conversation.
I think it's such a pleasure for me to be here with you, Kris, because we've been launching the philanthropy list for almost a decade, right? And we've seen how the philanthropy has grown in the country. And if there's anything to go by in terms of research, you've been an active, serious philanthropist in the country from our data perspective, and you've been consistent and their courses have been consistent, and I've seen that. So for me, it's just a very nice feeling to be with you and just to ask more questions and get your perspective. The whole objective of the interview, if I may say, it's to inspire more and more young entrepreneurs into giving and make more of these next-gen entrepreneurs to understand what are the other causes beyond education. So this is some of the thought process here. Just to give you a perspective of the philanthropy list, when we started to now, when we put out the list in 2012, the first list, and you compare that with an economy like China. At that time, China's GDP was about 8 trillion US, and India was way lower. The number 100th in the philanthropy list in China donated way lower than the number 100th in India at that time, right? So India seems to be a country that is much better than comparable economies in terms of giving. So the wealth creation is going to play a huge role in accelerating philanthropy yourself, and we believe the list with and this interview would motivate more into giving. So thanks a lot for your time again. So before, the first question is, I think you just before we entered the room, you said you have two vehicles for giving back. Where we define giving back from an entrepreneur's perspective is, one is you give back to the ecosystem where you support more young entrepreneurs, which will result in economic development, and then you give back to the society, which will result in wider economic prosperity. That's the wealth creation and philanthropy combination, right? And could you tell us a bit more about that, these two vehicles, and we'll dwell more into philanthropy.
So, first of all, I believe that giving has to be part of everybody's agenda. You don't have to just give back money. You can actually volunteer your time, and that can be done by anybody. And I tell students that spend a Saturday morning helping another student or somebody who's not as privileged as you, just help them with some cause. And when you earn a salary, maybe little bit, 2%, 5%, start giving back, so that you can make giving back a habit. And when you have significant sums, then you can think of more formal approaches and things like that, which is what I have done. And I have two tracks, as you rightly said. One is to grow the wealth. See, having wealth, you need to have a goal of growing that wealth so that that wealth can benefit more causes, more, it can trigger more economic activity. And second is the giving back piece. And in my case, on the giving back, I said, I'm going to look at long-term benefit to society rather than in the short term. So when you give for supporting a student with scholarship, when you give supporting somebody with a open heart surgery or something like that where they can't afford it, then you are giving back such that you can help them for today. In my case, I figured out that there are a lot of people doing that, so let me look at something that I can help with on the long-term basis. And here also there are two tracks. One is, can you develop new models of computing such that computing becomes more efficient? Again, it's triggered by my curiosity about the brain, right? brain is the most efficient computer created by nature, and I believe nature is the best engineer ever, right? Because it weighs about 2 pounds, consumes 20 watts of power, and it's the most amazing computer ever. We have still not figured out everything about the brain. So the models of computing that we use today, this whole industry is built on the curiosity of our brain. The concept of von Neumann architecture, the concept of Boolean algebra, all came out because of us wondering about the brain. Similarly, the new models of machine learning, deep learning, all came out again us wondering how brain does its processing. So new models of computing can emerge. We need low power computing, we need low cost computing, you need more efficient models of computing, because today computing has turned out to be brute force. You throw more and more power at a problem and then solve the problem. It's estimated that to train the models, OpenAI uses a computing infrastructure that's worth $50 billion.
Wow.
How many companies can afford, and individuals definitely can't even think about these things. And so how do you compete with such investments? So you need to have new models and new efficient ways, and of course think about that compute infrastructure, how much power it will consume, its impact on environment and things like that. And the second track I looked at is our understanding of the brain, and can we create cures for some of the incurable diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia in general. Because every person is going to live longer, and we need to ensure that the quality of life is better or is okay as they live longer. They still are productive, they are not dependent on others. Because if you fall sick, if you have dementia, definitely you're going to depend on somebody else. And these are diseases which we have not figured out yet. There are no cures. It's reversible, and hence my interest in neurodegeneration with aging, and can we work on this problem. I believe that more people working on the problem, hopefully the problem will get solved faster. More diverse set of people working on the problem with diverse data, which is what India represents, we may get insights which will lead to better understanding of the phenomenon and cures most probably. And last but not the least, India working on the problem will reduce the cost of the solution, because India is a lower cost economy. That's why the entire world comes to India for R&D, right? So that's why I'm supporting research which will hopefully create better models of computing and better cures for neurodegeneration.
So as you speak, there are two things that are very clearly standing out. One is you have found a way to something that you're very deeply passionate about even otherwise, to see what is the social context of it and how it can be leveraged to solve a problem that is much bigger than we can ever imagine solving alone. Second that stands out is that it's a very long shot. It's what people call moonshot, big bets, all the fancy words. And in an environment where we see over years, people do need some kind of gratification, that where they are investing their time and money and energies show some results. You are pursuing problems that we'll be lucky to see solutions come out earlier than we envisage. How do you, and I ask this really for role modeling, because we do need a significant number of people to solve this. How do you go about it? Because every day is not a success, every year may not be a successful year. How does one reconcile with this investment and not seeing results come out?
So research is open-ended, and you need to take big bets so that even if you don't reach the moon, you don't come up with a fistful of mud, right? So you reach for the stars. That's what I believe research should be about. You don't make every research program into that, but at least you need to have few big bets. ISRO is a wonderful example of a big bet which has made India only one of the 4 countries that could land on Moon or Mars, right? And then the offshoot of ISRO is our own communication satellites and our own way of creating GPS-like solutions for the country, etc. So we do need to have very ambitious goals, few of them, and we need to tackle problems which are impacting the world. That is what I believe. Now, where will the gratification come from? So we have successes. A paper is published, an insight is created, some new knowledge comes. Then we think about how do you translate that to something that society can benefit, etc. So you look at, is there progress towards that bigger goal? So initially it is about, do you have a right team? Right? You get, so you create actually milestones and then track to that milestone. So a long journey is broken up into short incremental steps, incremental destinations, and then you track progress that way.
And this is so important because when someone such as you with your stature and knowledge says this, it anchors the whole team and it makes the team also hope that there is a better future. How does one deal with setbacks in such an environment where you have to break up milestones into achievables? But have there been, and I'm sure there must have been, some incredible setbacks. How does one reconcile with that and ensure that the team is also not demotivated as they go ahead?
In the startup world, you have a different set of parameters and different model and things like that. I think everybody knows this actually, which is fail fast, right? Fail safe. Make sure that you pivot, you move on to new goals and new destinations that you want to reach, etc. Because you want to conserve the amount of money you waste, if I may say that. True. Right? Don't keep on pumping in money where it becomes very difficult to show any benefit out of that. In the research world, you have to have a different mindset, because these are incurable diseases. If it was easy, they would have already found the solution, right? So you need to think about working in the right direction. So for example, there has been no new drug for Alzheimer's till recently for 30 odd years.
30 years?
30 years. Because it's such an incredibly difficult problem. We don't even know whether we understand it well enough to think about drugs for that. The LIGO project, which demonstrated the gravitational waves, was funded for 30 years before they actually detected gravitational waves, and it was an incredible breakthrough. Einstein postulated this around 1919 or something like that. 100 years later, in 2019, we were able to actually detect gravitational waves. But it opened up a huge area in astrophysics, because now you can actually look back into the beginning of the universe and things like that. They're huge breakthroughs. So you need some of these goals. You need to support them. What I call committed, guaranteed funding for, let's say, 10-year term. Back your team. Make sure that they are encouraged with some small wins periodically, some successes you can celebrate, and then hopefully you will have a breakthrough at some point of time. Some of these big bets are very much necessary for a country like India. I'm a firm believer in this. Otherwise, we will not, we will not solve some of the unsolvable or unsolved problems till now.
That's beautiful.
I want to. What are the results that you've seen? You've been doing this for so many years. I mean, this specific topic, right? Any key milestones that you achieved, if you want to share in this research?
So there are 2 centers that I support. One at Indian Institute of Science, and another at IIT Madras. At Indian Institute of Science is truly long term, because we are studying 10,000 people to see how they age over 10 years of time. Okay? And so initially it's about data collection. See, there isn't any data on Indian subjects all our research is being done on data from abroad, because we don't have good data on Indian subjects. So initially our goal is to create a database of Indian subjects. That we have been able to achieve now. And now more people can work on this data. We are also seeing some early insights which we need to now understand. So we have a urban cohort and a rural cohort we track. And we would probably intuitively think that rural people don't have stress. We find that incidence of hypertension is the same whether it's in rural or urban areas. More interestingly, women age faster in rural areas than men. Now, we have seen this in the data. What does this mean? How is it, what is causing this problem? We don't know. So we will have to now study this better. So insights are coming already from the data that we are collecting. At IIT Madras, it was a flash of brilliance where we looked at what is feasible in India uniquely. We have access to cadaver brains, brains donated after a person dies. And we said, can we actually study these brains at a resolution that is still not attempted? So they are creating a human brain atlas, digital human brain atlas, which if we are able to do this, will be used by the entire world, because the next best atlas is 1/10 resolution of what we are able to create. And this is actually an engineering task, but the outcome of that is actually a human brain atlas, and which hopefully will be used by the entire world. And it will also give insights on, again, how the brain develops from conception to old age, what happens in a diseased brain, what different types of diseases, how do they impact the brain, etc. And here the results are going to be faster. But we require the fastest supercomputer, we require multidisciplinary resources, we need a lot of data analytics capabilities and things like that. But we are hoping that we are able to do that.
Are you involved in these results meetings? Results at least when they tell you what's happening, and how excited I do, like jump off the chair. Oh, this is really cool. I mean, figuratively, it sounds very.
It's very exciting, and I do sit in discussion of results because they want to present to me what they have been able to achieve, etc. And it's quite exciting, definitely quite exciting. But I don't sit on review of research that I leave it to the scientists, or incremental goals that they set, etc. I leave it. I set the long-term goal, which is can we try and understand neurodegeneration with aging, and can we find cures, etc. Those are long-term goals. But how do we get there? I don't sit and decide.
I want to ask one question. I was talking to Amit Chandra of 8 Chandra Foundation. So he was telling me that at a philanthropy summit, he was speaking about it. And this gave us a very interesting concept. He said every philanthropy project is, you treat it like a startup investment where you invest money, you donate money, then you look at how it is, and there's also an exit period, and you hand over the initiative to whoever the stakeholders are. Have you found parallels between philanthropy and because here there's no outcome that's coming to you, but then you would have certain yardstick or milestones, and you would also want to get a project to a completion. And then
so like that. I don't think of exit that way. I think of exit at all in these programs. These are long-term programs. This is setting up a brain research facility in Indian Institute of Science and IIT Madras. What I think about is, how can I get others to join this effort? How can I get others to fund these things? How can we create new programs in these facilities such that it continues to grow and becomes the best brain lab in the world and things like that?
My energies and EdelGive's energies are all focused on how to get more capital moving into causes that are not as popular but very, very grievous with the Indian context. And our whole focus is how to structure backends and financial instruments that make that money move. Because a lot of people go in a freeze mode. Either they are confused about what to choose, or they are dealing because they have time on their hands. And sometimes it's just compelling to have a structure that makes it simple. So that's what.
Yeah. So on the startup side, I advise them, don't invest in startup directly, invest in funds, right? And invest in funds with different time horizons, invest in funds that give you co-investment rights so that you can recycle money faster. So that part is actually working, because now I see large number of family offices investing. Just not family offices, I want Indian businesses also to look at research as a vehicle to bring innovation in-house. So they invest in research in-house, but now talking to them saying 50% of your products and technologies that you sell must be from outside the company, sourced outside the company, which means you need to fund external research, innovation, etc. Maybe a startup, maybe an academic institution or research institution. So creating these models and concepts, etc., which people can use to.
I think it'll work. I did something very, not at your scale, but something very small. When I was doing angel, I actually started getting into angel because there are a lot of these next-gen entrepreneurs of wealthy families. They were not really exposed to startup as an asset class. So, and some of them over the time became good friends and everything. Startups, I don't know, I'll just invest in luxury and also my business and so on. So then I started investing in angel, small tickets, 25 lakhs, that kind of ticket. And I told them, look, I'm investing, why don't you also co-invest? I didn't act as an agent or a charge money, but then making them to start getting exposed to the asset class.
With their fingers.
And if one of them becomes successful, that 25 lakhs will become 25 crores.
I talk to how our family office invests, and I say 15% of our wealth is invested in the startup ecosystem. So I give these examples, and I say there is no right or wrong number, but you start, and you start small and grow it. And if you have a portfolio approach, which is what will happen if you invest in a fund, right? Then you will get returns.
About Infosys founders, that all of them are big in philanthropy. That's amazing. It's just I could see that alignment of value systems there. That's really, and not even small, like really top philanthropists in the country. And number two is also Bangalore is essentially, if you take the non-CSR and just look at personal philanthropy, Bangalore is essentially the philanthropy capital of the country, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, these two are.
What does the city do?
Yeah, every time I do a press release, I speak about Infosys and I speak about Bangalore.
So one, you rightly pointed out the value systems are similar. That's why we came together in 1981. That's why we stayed together even till now. And our value system is such that a lot of people have contributed to that. It's just not us. The employees of Infosys, the government has supported this industry, our customers have helped us grow, and our responsibility is to make sure that we use that wealth wisely. We use that wealth to not just benefit our own family, but also benefit society. So giving back is a very important part of the value system for Infosys founders, and I'm very proud of the set of people who started Infosys. I'm also seeing this in the broader ecosystem. A lot of the philanthropists who are actually now investing in research are also from the IT industry, right? I wrote a book, Against All Odds, the IT story of India, because I'm proud of what this industry has achieved. By and large, well-governed companies, well-managed companies, good value system, respect for each other, friends, even though we are competitors. And today I work with a lot of founders of IT companies in many of the causes that I work with, investments that I do in startups, in the philanthropy side, etc. So I'm very proud of that. And Bangalore, it's a very young city, a lot of first generation entrepreneurs, and I think it's in this first generation entrepreneurs that this mindset of giving back is now growing, right? In the other places you find more of family run businesses, and family businesses tend to follow their traditional way of looking at philanthropy. In the first generation entrepreneurs, their models are different.
True.
I'd say 5 categories of philanthropists. One is family run. Second is I even categorize you amongst the startup founders, tech founders, the new age business. Third is professionals like Mr. Amit Chandra, Nayak of LNT, and so on. The fourth is the fund managers, who are providers of capital and who create wealth by managing, like Prashant Prakash and likes of them. Then the fifth is the NRIs who wants to give back to the country.
Yeah.
These were sort of 5 philanthropic engines in the country.
True. But across the 5 philanthropies, what is very clear is we are asked about the exit strategy. When you invest in a societal problem, individually seeing 5 years or let's make change in 5 years, 10 years. You said something earlier about your experience in the world of research and your understanding of how some huge scientific global issues have been solved over 100 years and 50 years and 20 years, and you're bringing that into philanthropy, and that's again a very remarkable insight to bring from your engineering and business background into philanthropy. How does one, templatize this as a model of looking at societal problems that have actually been developed over hundreds and thousands of years?
See, when you invest in a for-profit startup, you are also helping the economy, you are also helping the society, but you have a profit motive.
Correct.
You have an expectation of a return after some time. So when you invest in charity, when you invest in research, when you invest in such causes, I believe that do not have an expectation of an exit or a return.
Fantastic.
Because you are not going to be disappointed. I think somebody wise has probably said, right, why do you plant a seed for a tree that is going to grow over the next 100 years and bear fruit 50 years from now, etc.? Because somebody else will benefit from this. Right? So when you look at philanthropy, I firmly believe that don't expect results. Of course, you need to have measures of progress, right? That you are moving in the right direction. You may need to pivot even here. But when the results will happen, who will benefit from that? I believe that you shouldn't have any expectations there.
True. Thank you. That's a very, very important message that I wanted to hear from you.
Sure, and that's my philosophy. That's why these are 2 separate tracks. I have 2 separate organizations managing these things. So Pratiti is my for-profit track or entity, and Pradiksha is my not-for-profit. And from Pradiksha, I have no expectation of any return. I find good research organizations and support them.
This is actually what trust-based philanthropy is, that you trust that the right people have been found.
Exactly.
And they are going after the problem, but you also measure it in an astute way that doesn't put unreasonable pressure on performance. That creates that confusion.
I want to correct you, if I may.
Yes.
When you invest in a founder of a for-profit entity also, it's based on trust. And they need to remember that. So I tell now entrepreneurs, okay, please govern your entity properly. Please do not destroy trust. Because you are not destroying just the trust that's on you, but you actually, the ecosystem. The trust in the ecosystem gets lowered. I talk about the Satyam episode in the book, right? What I found wonderful was that, and again, I'm proud of this industry, all the other companies decided they're not going to recruit Satyam employees and they're not going to poach the customers. We actually put a kind of fence around Satyam, ensured that the employees didn't suffer, the customers did not suffer, government replaced the board, and ultimately it was taken over by Tech Mahindra.
Yeah.
It happens only in India.
It happens only in the IT industry. I haven't seen it happening in any other industry. Right?
You're right.
It is not happening in other industries. Look at how much time NCLT, etc. process takes. Right? So I feel that trust is very important in business. And trust is something that all of us need to think about. We are not just building our companies, we are building industries, we are building the nation.
True.
Right? All of this requires trust. And we have to make sure that as successful people, one of our primary objectives is to build trust in our society.
Beautiful.
And is India doing enough in terms of philanthropy, or is a long way to go?
I think India is spending a lot in philanthropy. Now, what we need to do is kind of relook at the causes that we are going after. There is also an expectation that government may be inefficient or is not able to do a good job, and so private organizations must step in. I think these are two different responsibilities. Government must provide quality services at affordable prices to its citizens in a timely fashion. You can't replace the government, you can't replace the reach of the government. Philanthropy is here to demonstrate solutions, but the solutions then have to be taken over by government to deploy it widely. So we need to understand the roles and responsibilities of different entities or different actors in this. And that's sometimes something that we forget. We believe that philanthropy can solve the problem. Philanthropy can demonstrate a solution.
Isn't that then the exiters? You demonstrate the solution, hand it over to the government.
Yeah, so the problem is, let's say there isn't a willingness for the government, or the government is unable to take over, then you need to figure out how do you take it to a logical conclusion, or how do you build a larger arm to do this, bring more people into this, maybe create a different structure to do this, etc.
Are you inspired by any international philanthropic organization?
Or Indian?
Indian or anything that you like?
Well, when I look at something like a Ford Foundation or a Rockefeller Foundation, they have created multi-generational foundations, charitable organizations, etc. They are global in their activities. So in India, we don't have many examples. Of course, Tata Sons is an amazing organization that's been created, and how it's structured. They own majority shares in Tata companies. It's a wonderful example, but we don't find many such examples in India. When you look at Bosch and how Bosch is structured, again, the profits go to philanthropy and things like that. The family has ensured that the profits go to philanthropy.
Rolex is another.
Yeah. So there are examples, multi-generational entities, global in nature. I would like to see Indian philanthropy becoming global at some point. And I would like to see Indian philanthropy becoming multi-generational.
But that's also because we're a young country. We're a teenager in terms of history of.
Well, not just that, our development stage is also very different, right? We are still a low-income country.
Correct.
There are only few people with a lot of money, and so.
I actually want to place my thanks, because some of the things you've said, only your words can create the impact that they do. It's important for someone like you to say what you did. You spoke about intergenerational impact, looking beyond oneself, ensuring that personal wealth creates a societal impact that lives beyond one's own life. These are remarkable words to come out of you because people listen.
I read a lot, and I think, and I look at all these examples, right, and want to see India playing a bigger role globally. I feel that that's an opportunity that we have. Yes. India helping solve global problems. I want to see a cure for cancer from India, right? So we have to be ambitious, and we can do it. We can do it. And look at number of Indian leaders heading companies around the world.
Almost all of them.
Right. Especially in the tech.
Yeah, almost all of them are.
So clearly
right.
we have the caliber.
Exactly. We have the talent. And we have the problems also.
Yes.
That requires solution.
Yes.
That requires solution, right?
Yes.
So India can be the laboratory for the world in the 21st century.
Yeah. And how would you like to be remembered, as a philanthropist, as a visionary founder, or investor, or what? Yeah.
I don't think about those things. I just do what I feel the right thing I need to do, and let others decide on that. Because I don't think about beyond me or anything like that from a personal perspective. It's not about me. It's about what luck has provided me with and how I can best use this. So in some sense, creating these entities that are multi-generational, right? That's what is driving me. Infosys is one such organization, and clearly our goal was it has to flourish beyond founders, right? That's how we structured Infosys, right? That's why we stepped down at the time that we stepped down.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you for this interview, and thank you for what you are doing in terms of highlighting the role philanthropy must play in the nation building, creating role models of philanthropists, etc. Very, very important. So thank you very much.
Thank you for all your blessings. Thank you,
Thank
Kris.
you. Thank you so much.